Welcome everyone. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Mike here. And in today's video, I want to come clean about the purchase of this vehicle right here. Yep, my 2023 Kia Niro EV Wave Edition. The Wave Edition is the upper trim model. So last year I did do an in-depth review on this particular car. And I think I did mention there that in the future I'd like to make a video on the purchasing process and how I came to actually buying the car. Again, I purchased the car, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't pay close to MSRP. Listen, if you guys want to see a video on this, let me know in the comments or whatever you want to, shoot me an email, whatever you want to do. But I got this car, I'm going to be honest with you, all right? Listen, I purchased this vehicle for just under 50% of MSRP with only 4,000 miles on it. So if you want to find out how I did that and what to look for, let me know. I'll make a video on it. Well, it's about time I come clean on how I did that. And I really, to be honest with you, I couldn't have made this video any sooner. I needed time with the vehicle. I needed to drive it long distances, short distances, in the cold, in the hot weather. I just really needed to experience it because this video could go one of two ways. Either a positive video or a complete failure and a negative video. So let's get into the car, take a ride, and I'll tell you all about it. So the reason why I had to wait and make this video, and quite honestly, I didn't know if this was going to be a positive or negative video, is because I purchased this vehicle back last July, it was, as a buyback vehicle. I'll get into exactly what a buyback is. I did make a video on that a while ago. You can check that out. I will leave a link at the end or in the description or both. Now for the backstory. I finally decided to move on from my Nissan Sentra that I've had for 2 or 3 years. And I had a checklist of exactly what my next vehicle would be. The first thing on my checklist is the vehicle needed to be electric with at least 250 miles of range. I wanted the mid to upper trim level in whatever vehicle was available. And I wanted to stay on budget. Now, what was my budget? That's the killer. My budget was between $26,000 and $28,000. So right off the bat, there was no way I can afford any new electric vehicle. Even with the $7,500 tax credit by the government, there was just no way you can get a decent electric vehicle for that price, brand new anyway. So, of course, I started hitting the used market. Now, in the used market, when I searched the criteria that I was interested in, there was a few that came up. There was one I almost pulled the trigger on, and that was out in Arizona. Unfortunately, after they wanted to put their add-ons and delivery, it came to over $30,000. I saw a nice car out there. Another one that met my criteria were a few cars, actually, 3 of them. And they were based out of Florida. And this is just a side note. I feel bad for you Floridians who buy a car there. Every dealership I called, I said, hey, I love this car. It's in my price range. It's exactly what I want. I'd like to come have a look at it. Now, I'm in New Jersey, so I'd have to fly down, pick it up, whatever it is, or have it delivered. And I just need the out-the-door price. I can't believe it. Some dealers added on $2,000, $2,500. There was one dealer that had over $3,100 in fees. You have your dealer fee, your prep fee, your paperwork fee, your tag fee, all these fees. I'm like, what the? It's just not regulated down there. I feel bad for you folks. Anyway, it's a different topic. So as I'm searching, this car right here pops up on my feed. Wow. I looked at it, I read the description. It falls below my price point. I think this car listed for $23,000. I keep reading. No dealer fees. What? No add-ons. Okay, this is too good to be true. I keep reading, and in the description, the word buyback comes up. This was a buyback vehicle. The car looked in showroom condition. It had 4,000 miles on the odometer. What could possibly be wrong with this car? So a buyback, quite simply put, according to the DMV, the legal paperwork and everything that goes along with that, is the same thing as a lemon vehicle. I know a lemon, something that's labeled as a lemon, has a much more negative connotation than a buyback. So is there a difference? Legally, no. But in my research and in my experience, there is a bit of a difference, and I'm going to share that with you. So when it comes down to it, the strict definition of a buyback is any vehicle that has been repurchased by the manufacturer. So somebody owns the car, they bought it from a dealership, they've had it for a while, and now the manufacturer, buys that car back. That's what a buyback is. Now, in this state, a dealer must repurchase your vehicle back if these conditions are met. Number one, you have a problem with the car, and it's a reoccurring problem. You have to have that same problem 3 times within a certain amount of time. And number two, it must be a safety issue. Let me give you an example of a mandatory buyback. You've purchased a car, you've had it, a month or two, and your windshield wipers don't work anymore. You bring it in to the dealership to get it fixed. They do a diagnostic on it, and they determine that your motor is no good. So they replace the electric windshield wiper motor. You get that back, you drive it around. Another month later, the windshield wipers don't work again. Well, guess what? You bring it back to the dealership. They don't know. They're like, maybe there's a defective motor in there. We'll replace that motor again. They replace the windshield wiper motor a second time. You get the car back, it works fine for a while. 2-3 months later, guess what happens? You guessed it. The wipers don't work again. Oh my goodness. Now you're frustrated. You're like, come on, aren't you competent? You can't figure out what's wrong. How come my windshield wipers don't work? You bring it back to the dealership. They do a complete diagnostic. They say everything is operating the way it should be. We've checked the fuse panel. We've checked the fuse. We've checked the wiring. And we've checked the motor. So we're going to have to replace your motor again. Now, you have every right as a consumer to call back the manufacturer and explain your situation. You purchased the car brand new. That windshield wiper motor they replaced 3 times. And last time they replaced it, they gave me this whole thing that it was my fault. All I did was try to turn on my wipers while it was raining. And next time it rains and I lose my wipers and I can't see out my window and I get blindsided because I can't get out of the way, it's your fault. So in that case, the manufacturer is obligated to buy back the vehicle. That problem is definitely a safety issue. You can't see out the window, and it's happened multiple times, and it's happened within a certain amount of time. Now, some manufacturers make that extremely difficult. No, they're not going to buy your car back. You may even have to get a lawyer involved, but in the end, you're probably going to get that car bought back by the manufacturer. Now, the second kind of buyback that I've seen out there is more of a customer service issue. Let me explain. Now, what I'm telling you has happened. So let's say Your vehicle, you buy it brand new, and you notice that there's a gap in the back, where the body panels are, kind of like where the liftgate closes, and one side is a little bit thicker than the other side, so you got a wider gap on the right and a thinner gap on the left. You go ahead and bring that in to get that fixed, and the dealership says, okay, well, we'll adjust that for you. Not a problem. So they maneuver it a little bit, and they try to line it up as best they can. You get it back, you look at it, and you're like, hey, listen, this is still not lined up. What can you do about it? All right, bring it back in. We'll see what we can do. They look at the gap. They try to readjust it. They do whatever they can, and they look at you and say, look, there's really nothing else we can do in short of removing the entire liftgate and replacing it. And you as a consumer, okay, do that. I want my lines perfect for whatever reason. They order a new liftgate, they put it in, the same problem. Now the consumer is ticked off because they bought it back a couple of times, they've replaced the liftgate, and now they're calling to complain to the manufacturer. Now, in this state, in New Jersey here, number one, it's not a safety issue. So right off the bat, it doesn't qualify for a buyback. However, in some cases, in order to satisfy the customer, to put them at ease, and hopefully gain more of their business, the manufacturer will offer to buy that car back. Listen, Mr. Customer, I understand you're not happy with the gap in the liftgate. I apologize. They did try to fix it the best they can. However, there is no other thing that they can do. It's just a simple fact of that particular vehicle that the gap is a 1/4 inch different in each end. But to satisfy you, to keep you as a loyal customer, we're going to go ahead and offer to repurchase that car from you. Now, depending on the manufacturer, that depends on whether they're going to go overboard and satisfy the customer or not. They could very easily say, I'm sorry, the car doesn't qualify. It's a minor defect in the vehicle, and it's not a safety issue. Too bad, Mr. Customer. Take the car and drive it. So with all that said, what about this car? What was the issue or problem with this particular vehicle that prompted the Kia manufacturer to repurchase it back from the customer with less than 4,000 miles on it? Well, anytime, this is the law, anytime that you are interested in purchasing a buyback vehicle, the dealer must provide you in writing what the problem was and how it was resolved. The problem with this particular vehicle was the 12-volt battery would lose its charge and wouldn't start. Now, with that particular problem, I would assume that it happened on more than 1 or 2 occasions for the customer. And there's really 2 scenarios in which that can happen. The first is there's a problem with the vehicle. The second is there's a problem with the user. So I had to go ahead and figure that out. Now, as a consumer, what can I do? Well, first, I can contact the manufacturer, which I did. They, in turn, put me in contact with the dealership that performed the work. I can certainly call them and ask them questions, which I did. I actually got in touch with the service advisor in Maryland who did the service on the vehicle here. They pretty much said, yeah, we checked that I gave them the VIN number. We checked that vehicle out head to toe. We did a complete diagnostic on it. We found no issues at all with it. We will actually send you the report. We'll put it in writing. And how they fixed it was pretty unique. They replaced the 12-volt battery. The service advisor said if the battery has drained multiple times, it's just better to replace it and go on from there. So they replaced the battery. They've tested it. They left it sit in the lot. They started it. They stopped it. They ran it. They took it for test drives. Everything was normal with the vehicle. And in his opinion, it was actually the driver's error. So I did a little research on my own just to double check. Now, if the problem were on the vehicle end, it's only a few things that it could be. Number one, it could be a defective battery. That's the easiest. Number two, there could be excess phantom drain on the battery or the electrical system. I did make a video on that too, but phantom drain is the battery loses its charge while the vehicle is off. That usually happens because there may be a short circuit somewhere, or there could be a dome light on, or something that is on in the car that the driver doesn't know. And the third thing it could be is the DC to DC converter, which takes power from the traction battery, or that large battery that drives the vehicle, converts it to a lower voltage to charge the 12-volt battery. And that happens throughout all electric vehicles. It kind of acts like an alternator, charging one battery charges the other. Now, on the user side, in an electric vehicle, it's a little bit different than in an ICE vehicle. For example, if you're one of those people that lets your gas gauge go down to a quarter of a tank before you put more gas in it, or wait till your fuel light comes on in order to put more gas in it, that's the way you drive. In an electric vehicle, you can't do that. In order for that 12-volt battery to be charged by the traction battery, that traction battery needs to be charged at over 20% all of the time. If you charge your car, keep it above 20%, you'll have no problem. That battery will charge that 12-volt battery, no problem. However, if it falls under 20% in the Kia and Hyundai models, I believe it's many other models as well, that function will be turned off in order to conserve energy in your traction battery. So if it's 15, 16, 17, 18%, guess what? You leave your car sit for a few days, that 12-volt battery may not have enough juice to start your electric car. Now, that's not well known. You don't see that around too often. Yes, it's in the user manual, but who reads the user manual anymore? But in the electric community, it's pretty well known to keep your battery level above 20%. And these particular customers, I think this was their first electric car. Another user error that actually drains your 12-volt battery quicker than normal, and this can happen in any vehicle, whether it's an ICE vehicle or an electric vehicle, quite frankly, is those phone apps you have. You're constantly checking in on your car. You're geolocating your vehicle. Maybe it's at a mall. You want to know where it is. You want to activate the cameras so you can see around it. Whatever the case may be, every time you open the app on your phone for your vehicle, it wakes up the car. What I mean by waking it up, it turns on the electrical functions in your vehicle. It turns on the cameras. It turns on the dashboard. It wakes everything up. And guess what? The car's not running. So if the car's not running, or the battery, the traction battery is below 20%, and you're opening up that app on your phone, it's using battery power, which can drain your 12-volt battery. And when you go out to start your car, sorry, no power. So with all my research, all my fact checking, all my phone calls, guess what? It's still a buyback, or still a lemon vehicle. Now, do I take the chance on it and purchase this car for $23,000? Or do I leave it alone? Now, there are only two positives for purchasing a buyback vehicle. The first is you get a super deal on it. This car, if it wasn't a buyback, would probably list for $27,000 to $28,000. Now, since it was a buyback, it's worth less. It's worth $23,000, and that's what I purchased it for. The second positive about purchasing a buyback is the manufacturer must extend the warranty on the vehicle. They cannot resell it without a warranty. So this car still has its original warranty attached to it. Now, on the flip side, there's several negatives. So you have to take this into account if you do want to purchase a buyback. If you purchase it, yes, it is under warranty, but if that problem still persists, it's up to you to fix it. You have to take it back. Yeah, it's still under warranty. The manufacturer will still have to honor that, and the dealer will still have to fix it. But if it keeps going, you bring it back. You bring it back. You bring it back. That's number one. The second thing is the value of your vehicle when you go and try to sell it is not what you expect. Again, you bought it at a discounted price. You're going to have to sell it at a discounted price. The third thing is the manufacturer will not rebuy it back. We gave you the information. We told you it was a lemon or a buyback. We gave you what was wrong with it. We told you who fixed it. The ball is in your court. You knew what you were getting yourself into. So after weighing all the pros and cons and understanding a whole lot about electric vehicles, I decided to pull the trigger on this car and hope for the best. I was about 90 to 95% sure that everything was going to be okay. And I really thought that this battery drain issue was a user error and not a mechanical issue. And that's just based on a lot of research that I did personally. So, did it turn out to be a good investment or a bad investment? That's the big question. It's been 13 months since I purchased and drove this vehicle, and not once did I ever have to charge it, did I ever have to bring it to the dealership, or was ever in trouble of losing any kind of power from the 12-volt battery. I've driven it in extremely hot weather. I've driven it long distances. I've driven it in freezing cold weather. I've had the heat warmers on all over on the seats. I've had the steering wheel heat warmer. I've had the heat blasting in 0-degree weather. 12-volt battery just fine. In the cold weather, I've had the air conditioning cranked. I had the cooled seats going full blast. I had the sunroof open, whatever it was during the fall. I've used a lot of power in this vehicle and have never come close to losing any power from my 12-volt system. So I would call this buyback a complete success. Hooray for me, right? It doesn't happen to everybody. But if you do consider purchasing a buyback, please, I just implore you to do your research, make some phone calls, and talk to whoever you can and learn as much as you can about the vehicle before buying it. Well, folks, that's all I have for you today. Good luck out there looking for cars, and if you come across a buyback, do your research before pulling that trigger. Thanks again for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day.